What if I told you that there are two types of trust, and choosing the wrong one could expose your assets to creditors or even delay your loved one's inheritance by years? Now, most people think a trust is a trust, but there's a distinction between a revocable trust and an irrevocable trust, and the differences can be a game changer. So stick around to discover which one truly protects your legacy. By the end of this video, you'll clearly understand the key differences between revocable and irrevocable trusts, and you'll know which one fits your specific goals and wishes for your family, for your legacy. We've guided hundreds of Georgia families through trust planning with strategies that protect wealth and simplify the estate planning process, and we'd love to help you too. I'm estate planning attorney Mike Smith with Smith Barid LLC, and I'm one half of the estate planning guys. So first, let's talk about what is a trust? What is that anyway? So if you're thinking about your financial future, you've probably heard of trusts, but what are they really? Let's peel back some of the layers and kind of get to the root of what is a trust. So a trust is a legal arrangement where one party, called the trustee, manages the trust assets on behalf of the beneficiaries. And in the case of some trusts, you may act as the trustee and be a beneficiary of the trust. In other circumstances, you might have a separate trustee, and then you might be a beneficiary, or your kids might be beneficiaries. And the history of trust goes back to the Middle Ages. They're an entity for organization of assets, organization of your legacy, in a way to pass those assets on and protect them, in many cases for generations, if that's what you want to do. And a trust, it can hold your home, your bank accounts, your investments, even your life insurance. So you kind of know what it is now. Why do people use trusts? Well, there's main reasons that people use trusts. Those are: 1, to avoid probate; 2, to maintain privacy; and 3, to control how and when assets are distributed. And that's especially important if you got retirement coming up and your estate picture is starting to get more complete as to how things are going to be, what your assets are going to be, and how you want to pass those things on to your kids or your grandkids, your family. And the other thing to know about trusts is that they can also offer asset protection. So they can protect those assets from what I call creditors and predators. So think of like a lawsuit, judgment creditor. So if you've been in a car wreck and you get sued, think of, somebody runs up credit card debt. Potentially, we can protect those assets from a creditor in a bankruptcy situation using a trust. Or if you want to protect your assets from going to your son-in-law or daughter-in-law, there are ways we can do that as well. So let's talk about now kind of two different types of trusts in a little more detail. And let's talk first about revocable trusts. I call it the flexible friend. A revocable trust is just what it sounds like. It's revocable. So that means you can change it anytime you want to. You can even revoke it if you decide you don't want it anymore. So you can update beneficiaries, you can replace trustees, you can dissolve the trust. You're in the driver's seat and you can do whatever you want to with a revocable trust. That flexibility is really appealing for many retirees because you keep full control over the assets. You can manage, spend, invest, and nothing is locked away. You can do whatever you want to with the assets. But let me ask you a question about that. If you retain full control, are those assets truly protected? And so here's the truth about revocable trust. A revocable trust avoids probate, but it doesn't protect your assets from creditors or long-term care costs. And everything in it is still a part of your taxable estate. Now, after you pass away, there are things we can do in that revocable trust to make a portion of it, non-taxable. If you have a taxable estate, not many people do at this point. It's a really, really small, but there are things we can do within that revocable trust to protect your family from having to pay estate taxes as well. But that's not really the main purpose of a revocable trust. It's about avoiding probate, and it's about protecting you in the event that you become incapacitated. So if you were to suffer dementia or have a stroke and couldn't manage your affairs anymore. Okay, so that's a revocable trust. Let's talk now about an irrevocable trust, what I call the solid shield. And this is where things are going to take a little bit of a turn. An irrevocable trust is the opposite of a revocable trust. And it's right there in the name. Revocable means you can revoke it, change it anytime you want to. An irrevocable trust means that once you've placed the assets inside that trust, you can't take them back. You can't change the terms. You can't manage them the same way you were before. So I think of it as sort of being set in stone once you put your assets into an irrevocable trust. So you want to be really careful when you set up an irrevocable trust that it's carefully drafted and that it fulfills exactly what you want to happen, because you're essentially giving away those assets. Now, by doing so, you're building a really powerful shield around those assets, but you're effectively giving the assets away. So irrevocable trust can protect assets from lawsuits, creditors, like I mentioned earlier, can help reduce or avoid estate tax. And for retirees that are worried about Medicaid eligibility or preserving wealth for the next generation, an irrevocable trust can be a really solid way to plan for those types of costs and those type of protection. Of course, all this comes with a cost. You essentially are giving up control over the asset. And depending on how the trust is structured, there could be gift or income tax considerations. So there could be some gift tax concerns, and then there could be some income tax concerns that you need to be aware of before you create an irrevocable trust. So let's talk about the key differences between a revocable and irrevocable trust. I'll give you a decision matrix so that you can compare them side by side. So the first thing is control. With a revocable trust, you have full control. With an irrevocable trust, you have limited to no control. The second thing is asset protection. A revocable trust offers no asset protection. An irrevocable trust offers very strong asset protection. Tax treatment. Revocable assets stay in your estate. So a revocable trust, the assets are going to be part of your estate when you pass away. An irrevocable trust may reduce estate size and taxes. So it can be used for planning for estate tax. The last thing is flexibility. A revocable trust can adapt over time as your situation changes and things change for your family. You can just amend that anytime you want to. An irrevocable trust is more of a set it and forget it, set in stone kind of thing, so you can't make changes as you go forward through time. So understanding these trade-offs is really key to protecting your legacy. So let's talk about how you choose the right trust. What's the right path for you? So let's talk about a couple of scenarios. Scenario one, you're a retired couple with modest assets and you want to avoid probate but keep full control. A revocable trust makes a lot of sense for you in that sort of scenario. The second situation I want to talk about is you're a high net worth individual, you're concerned about lawsuits, you're concerned about long-term care costs, or maybe you're concerned about estate taxes. In that case, an irrevocable trust could protect your estate. But here's the thing, trust planning isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, and it's not a one-time event. So you should plan for your estate plan to evolve over time with, as things change in your life, as your finances change, and as your health circumstances change. If you want more information, you can visit our resources page using the link in the description below, and you can download some guides, and there's some tips there that can help you with your estate planning decisions. So let's talk about what the key takeaways are from today's video. The first is a revocable trust is very flexible, but it offers no asset protection. Secondly, an irrevocable trust is very protective, but you have less control. And third, the right choice depends on your goals and what you want to achieve, and then what the risks are to you and your family. Be sure to smash the notification button so you'll be notified every time we post up a new video. That happens about once a week. Thanks again for watching, and we're honored to help you protect what matters most.